What really attracted me to Scarborough is the preferential option for the poor. All the Scarborough missionaries that I met had this focus of working for the poor and the marginalized, what the Medellin document in 1968 called the preferential option for the poor. And I feel that Scarborough really took this very seriously in their missions.
Meet Father Ron McDonnell, a Scarborough Missions priest and a leading expert in the languages of Brazilian indigenous peoples. From childhood beginnings growing up in Antigonish, Nova Scotia, Father Ron felt a powerful attraction to church social teachings, especially the Option for the Poor Declaration by Latin American bishops meeting in Medellin, Colombia in 1968 and Puebla, Mexico in 1979.
The bishops of Latin America described the situation of Latin America as a situation of systemic injustice. And so they have enlightened us. They've helped us as Scarborough missionaries to take a closer look at society. And so since the 1970s, we have been pointing out the disparities in the world, the gap between the rich and the poor, and trying to call Canadians to a greater awareness of the structural dynamics of poverty.
When we spoke about the option for the poor, I think one of the things for me that's key is the text in the Gospel of Matthew. When did we see you hungry? When did we see you naked? And Jesus comes back and said, to the degree that you reached out to the other, to that degree were you reaching out to me. I think if we look at all the gospel texts, what we find is that the other and the focus on the other is always the important element. That's the essence of our social teaching. And we're called to reach out to those who are on the margin, those who are poor.
When I first came to Scarborough, I was very attracted to this social gospel, this message of participating in a struggle to liberate the poor. And I came with the passage from the Gospel of Luke in chapter 4, the Spirit of God is upon me. He has sent me to bring the good news to the poor, to liberate the poor, the prisoners, to set free the captives, to announce the year of grace for the Lord.
Growing up in Antigonish, Father Ron was imbued with tales of two now famous figures in social justice thinking of the church, Father Moses Cody and Father Jimmy Tompkins, two local priests who had lived their own versions of the option for the poor long before the phrase came into existence.
I heard a lot about Father Moses Cody and Father Jimmy Tompkins from my father, who was a farmer and a linesman on the railroad. And he would tell me about how Father Moses Cody and Father Tompkins during the 1930s started organizing the farmers and the fishermen into a movement for cooperatives and credit unions. The Cody Institute was founded in the 1960s, linked to St. Francis Xavier University in Antigonish, Nova Scotia, with the idea of sharing these teachings about co-ops and credit unions with leaders from base communities in other countries, from Africa, from Asia, from Latin America as well.
As Father Ron began to contemplate his own coming vocation as a Scarborough priest, he soon learned about the work of Scarborough missionary Father Harvey Steele, a friend of Fathers Cody and Tompkins, who went on to found his own training institute, the Inter-American Cooperative Institute, ICI, in Panama City. ICI's guiding ideals of dignity, education, and integrity would become basic to Father Ron's priestly formation.
So it's a need wherever poor people want to have greater say in their lives. I saw that among the Tzotzil people in Mexico and Chiapas with their coffee prices, and that's why we have fair trade coffee. When we pay so much money for coffee here in the north, who's getting that money? Is it the producers or is it all the middle people that are involved? So I think that's why co-ops and credit unions appeal to people in situations of misery. If we look at Brazil and we see the minimum wage is 510 reais a month, That's about $250 US a month. How can you raise a family on that?
Father Ron, as a young man, armed with the social teachings of the church, felt ready to change the world. As time went by, he began to see the task as huge and beyond the scope of a lifetime. But in giving his life to the cause of the option for the poor, Father Ron nevertheless found his way to an understanding of what Latin America's bishops had asked all Catholics to consider.
So in my early 20s, going to Latin America as a missionary, I felt I'm going to be part of this really immense social change. We're going to see poverty eradicated. And then as the years went on, the passage that really stayed with me was from John chapter 14 and 15, where Jesus says, "I'm the vine, you are the branches. You did not choose me, I chose you." So my scriptural motive, or my scriptural image, was that of now being rooted or connected to Jesus and to whatever work God sends us, whatever work that we can accomplish in eradicating poverty, in being with the poor, in changing the world and helping to bring about the kingdom of God. And that's how I see sort of how my own understanding of my work has evolved.